It's my first look at the running back position for week 15, and we're starting right now. For anyone that's watching this later on YouTube, definitely come hang out with us on Twitch, kind of the path to partner. I need your guys' help. I don't ask you guys for help very often, but even if you can't watch live, twitch.tv/Joe Holka, make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I go live. And if you see that, open up the tab at work, open it up on your phone. Really help me out. So running back, this is our first look, by the way. We do this every Tuesday at 1:30 Eastern time for each position. Running back's a position where, watch any of my content, you know that I tend to pay up for elite volume. Looks like Christian McCaffrey still over 10K, but is a little bit cheaper than he was last week. Is anyone scared of the Seattle matchup? I don't think I am. I guess the bigger concern is just the touchdowns haven't been there for CMC, but the good news is that even in last week's game, so he only had 11 rush attempts in last week's game, by the way, 53 yards on the ground, still had 12 targets. He has 12 targets in back-to-back games, had 11 receptions last week. He had more receiving yards and rushing yards last week. So even when you think CMC is kind of down and out in terms of hitting his floor, he can get there on one drive with those receptions. But back-to-back games with under 25 DraftKings points, it's something to pay attention to for sure. So we'll keep an eye on that. Leonard Fournette, they don't want to really touch his price. We've definitely seen the floor from Fournette in recent weeks. He is very cheap for that type of volume. We know the efficiency isn't going to be there for him, but back-to-back weeks similar, 15 rush attempts, 14 rush attempts, but target share is still going to be there with Fournette. Last week only had 6 targets in comparison to the 2 weeks before where he had 11 and 12. So yeah, you can make some sort of argument, I think, that these elite usage backs towards the end of the season, maybe they wear down, maybe they want to try, and for these teams that don't have anything to play for, maybe their coaching staff wants to kind of lighten the load a little bit. I don't know. It's something that you're going to have to piece your way through. I will say that historically, at least the last couple of years, I do seem to remember that these elite usage backs, like you can project them for nice volume, but it does tail off a little bit towards the end of the season. So that's something to think about for these teams that don't have as much to play for. That said, Christian McCaffrey, I mean, really doesn't. It's definitely something that I'm still going to try and prioritize in early week builds for sure. Someone in the chat's asking about Carson. So yeah, Carson. So Penny, it looks like Penny is going to be out as well. I believe it's a knee injury for Penny. So let's take a look at Carson. 7,500. Nice team total there against Carolina. Again, Carolina 32nd in the entire league at defending the run. So that's I think this is going to be a popular route. My concern with Carson is that even though I'm projecting him for 2.3 receptions, which is pretty low, he's kind of shown a good amount of volatility when it comes to his receiving floor. Like I think he's very capable. It's more like, can we assume that the coaches are going to use him in that way? I'm not sure. But that said, he's still, I mean, he's been used even with Penny in there through the air. He's got 4 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. So maybe if we do see kind of that uptick a little bit, maybe this is a too conservative of a projection for him, but we'll piece through that as the week goes on. Seattle, again, is a team that wants to lean on the run. This is a good matchup to do that. I could get on board with Carson. 7,500 for Carson versus someone like Fournette, both in really good matchups. I mean, my answer to that is maybe just play both, but yeah, that's something that we're going to have to make our way through this week, I think. Carson, Barkley, finally. Yeah, so let's talk about Saquon. So 7,700 for Saquon against Miami. People are going to play Saquon against Miami, right? What I like about it is obviously the reception floor in comparison to some of these other guys we're talking about. Fantastic matchup. And Miami, yeah, 29th against the run. They're also dead last at defending running backs in the passing game. So at what point do we really just take a breath here with Saquon, realize that Eli is back? Eli is someone that's going to check down a decent amount. Like, even though on Monday Night Football, Saquon only had 4 targets, I think that's for sure his target floor with Eli. And 2 weeks ago, I thought that Saquon looked a lot better. 19 attempts on the ground, 7 targets in that one. So let's take a step back, and Saquon still has at least 17 rush attempts in 3 straight games. And I think that his passing involvement through the air, like I said, with Eli, could continue to rise. So I think that Saquon, I might be in on Saquon at 7,700 this week. I like that quite a bit. I mean, I know he's down here on the list a little bit in terms of touches, but I think it's very close this week. So yeah, I could get on board with Saquon for sure. I think that he's someone that's going to be super popular if people are trying to save a little bit. Gurley price. Yeah. Gurley was one that kind of stood out to me too. And to be fair, someone mentioned rushing expectation earlier. Todd Gurley is not someone that has done well in my methodology. So is he an elite talent? I don't know. I really don't know. 6K. It's like him and Melvin Gordon, 6K, 6,500. All the people that played Melvin Gordon last week and got a little bit burned. I know he scored, but Austin Eckler going crazy. This is the type of usage that's like kind of borderline for me. Not a great matchup for Gordon, but yeah, in terms of Gurley, 6K is a decent price point for a guy that's going to touch the ball 20 times with a nice total. Very neutral matchup against Dallas, in my opinion. So, I mean, yeah, I think that Gurley is for sure in play if you want to save. 6K, is there better options to save? Like, I don't know. There's a couple other guys down here that I think that would be at least in play. Wanted to move like all the way down in terms of just trying to look at these guys that catch passes. Like we played Freeman last week. Obviously, he's priced down a decent amount because of the San Francisco matchup. I will say San Francisco is the best team in the league at defending running backs in the passing game. Patrick Laird at 4,500 was kind of a joke or a bit in the industry for a while. Had a decent game last week in comparison to his salary. I think he's back in play against the Giants. The Giants 23rd at defending the pass. 4,500 is a nice price point for someone that is going to be as involved as he is through the air. So do I tend to play these guys down here? No, I really don't. But I thought I should at least mention them for all the Patrick Laird people out there. Let's see if I missed anything in the chat. A lot of people talking about Mostert. I don't know if that's how you say his name, Mostert. But yeah, we'll touch on him quickly. So he's down in the same range, 5,200. Okay. Against Atlanta. Nice total. I'll say that. 29 implied total. People are going to be on that game for sure. Doesn't have very nice passing game involvement. It's not a fantastic matchup. 12 touches. This is a very good example of someone that I just never play. Unless that projection starts to move up a little bit throughout the week. Only 10 carries on the ground, 2 targets in the last game. Maybe he's in play. I don't know. I'm not really on that one, though, guys. Can't get on board with that one. AJ Brown saved my week. Oh, we'll get to AJ Brown when we get to wide receiver someday. Don't you worry, my friend. What's the Eckler price? All right. Yeah, Eckler, 6,700. So, like, Eckler, we talked about this. Anyone that was on the stream after kickoff last week, Eckler just always makes a decent pivot because I think that he's like the efficiency play that, yeah, if he ends up getting more touches, like I'm only projecting him for 12 touches right now. He ends up getting to like that 18 range. Like he's talented enough to where at that price tag, he can certainly smash. Like I kind of just wish Melvin Gordon just didn't exist in fantasy at times because Austin Eckler would be up here with these guys that we're talking about every week. So yeah, I think he's like a late swap pivot for me at this point. I don't know if he's actually a guy I would want to go to. Washington will be in play if Jacobs is out. Yes. Oh yeah. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, Jacobs right now is in the projections. I have him projected for about 16 touches against Jacksonville, 31st at defending the run. So yeah, I think Washington again, 4,700. If we projected him for more touches, would be a very, very popular way to pay down this week. So I can get on board with that for sure. Outside of that, guys, I don't really love any of the cheaper guys. We should probably talk about Aaron Jones. He was the helicopter play last week. Shout out Ian Hardis. Love that guy. So for the people that got on him, congrats. He's never going to be someone that projects for a decent amount of touches just because, or I guess for this range of touches, I should say, because of the Jamal Williams effect that they have there. But again, similar to Austin Eckler, Jones, guys that just smash my methodology. And that's because they're talented, but they're also very efficient. So at home against Chicago, not a great matchup, but Aaron Jones, yeah, he's overpriced for me. But I could see maybe in a tournament going there. What I tend to do in tournaments is still play these guys that are seeing elite volume, but tend to be under-owned. That's how I approach the position when it comes to a tournament. Let's see. Mostert is not the main back. It's a timeshare. Don't do it. That's how I feel too. Emails. Let's see. Eckler would be like 8K by now, 100%, man. How fun was it playing Eckler at the beginning of the year? Williams is banged up, which might help Jones. That's fair, man. So Hammond in the chat was saying that Williams is banged up. So let's keep an eye on that because, yeah, if Aaron Jones was the only back there, oh, yeah, be all over that. With you there for sure. Had 0 Aaron Jones this week. Feels bad. I mean, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have had any Aaron Jones either, to be completely honest. Franchise, what's up, man? At work, who's wide receiver on TB? Yeah, we'll get to wide receiver very soon, man. I think we're getting close to being done here with running back. Eckler was a lock. Yeah, Eckler was so much fun to play early in the year. I think Chris Carson is looking like chalk, though, to answer that question in the chat. Anyone else up top you guys want to talk about? So Ezekiel Elliott, 7,800. He's at home. They're a slight underdog, which, I mean, hopefully we get a little bit more involvement through the air. LA has been very stout against the run, third best, 22nd running backs in the passing game. That's something to keep in mind with Zeke. Would I prefer kind of the Saquon range? I mean, I would prefer Saquon, I think, at first glance to Zeke. But, I mean, we're getting some nice price tags on some of these guys that were a lot more expensive last few weeks. So that's interesting. Dalvin Cook, 8,900. I think I've lost enough money on Dalvin Cook this year to really kind of trust some of these projections. I thought I would get him in a little bit lower ownership last week than I did in my small field tournament. But, yeah, I mean, the touches, I mean, they're fine. When he has those games where he sees his ceiling in terms of his touches, he's going to be a fantastic play because of what they want to do on offense and how involved he can be in the passing game. It's just like a revolving door of Alexander Madison, Amir Abdullah, CJ Ham, the backup tight end. Like, it's a frustrating fantasy play to make. And I've watched him enough live this year to where it's just like, if they get up in this game, he's just not going to play. So, not so much interested in Cook. Seems like a decent tournament play again, maybe at 8,900, but in terms of a core play, it's really hard to get on board with that as my initial feel. Maybe I still have some biases from last week, though. I'll have to kind of work through that as the week goes on. I guess I left out Derrick Henry. All the calendar narratives, 8,500 for a guy that doesn't catch passes is not something I ever do on DraftKings, but he keeps burying me with like 150 yards and a touchdown. So that's what you need from him. Just looking at total yards over the last 4 games, he leads the entire slate. So take that for what it's worth. This team wants to run 8,500 for him. I strongly prefer these guys in the mid 7Ks. But again, that's been a leak of mine for sure this year, is just Xing him out of my pool. And if I was playing 20 lineups, 150 lineups, sure, you have some Derrick Henry. But small field stuff, I think he has a lower floor than these other guys. If you want to learn more about how to be a profitable DFS player and how to get better at betting, start now by hitting the subscribe icon in the bottom right-hand corner so you don't miss anything. If you want to take your game to that next level, make sure you're hanging out with us live on Twitch next time. Twitch.tv/Joe Holka. We'll see you there.